Every time she gets a chance, my daughter-in-law, Jasmine, treats me like a penniless pensioner. I came all this way to visit, and this is what I get? Such a shabby place. So disappointing. Well, I guess this is what you get on a pension. I can take whatever is said about me, but I can't stand it when someone else insults this shop. It was my son Louis, who started speaking when my anger reached its peak. My name is Susan. At 65, I'm still quite active for my age. My husband John passed away 3 years ago at the age of 70. He fought hard against liver disease, but sadly he couldn't beat it. However, John, ever the craftsman, fought bravely, without much complaint until the end. John was 8 years older than me. In the back of my mind, I had always been prepared for the possibility that John might pass away before me. However, his departure came sooner than I had expected. For a while, I was like a shell of my former self, but thanks to friends and neighbors, I gradually regained my spirit. Now I'm enjoying my time alone, attending karaoke classes, a hobby of mine from way back, and going to the theater with friends. Another significant event happened after John passed, and things settled down. My eldest son, Louis, got married. I thought it would be something to cheer me up, but John and I had 2 children. Our eldest, Louis, is now 37 years old and works as an IT engineer. He's freelancing now, mainly working from home, and apparently he's earning more than he did as a salaried employee. Teresa, the daughter and sister of Louis, is currently on an overseas assignment. She hardly ever gets to come back home. Louis finally married in his mid-30s, but for Teresa, it seems her job comes first, and marriage seems far off for her. Speaking of putting the job first, that's Louis's wife, Jasmine. Jasmine is 9 years younger than Louis, currently 28 years old. An even larger gap than between John and me. I first met Jasmine 2 years ago. Louis said, "I've decided to marry this person," and brought Jasmine to our house. Louis was attracted to the hard-working Jasmine, and surprisingly, it was Jasmine who strongly desired to marry. A slender beauty, a well-tailored suit from a high-end brand. She was the epitome of a career woman, just like those seen in TV dramas, exuding an aura of competence. And her views, expressed during our family meetings, were quite modern. We want to be a couple who respect each other's independence and freedom. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I'll give up on advancing my career. I'll work hard. I think we probably won't have children. According to Jasmine, child-rearing is a hindrance to career advancement. She wants to earn her own money, enjoy freedom without being tied down by family life, even after marriage. However, I was somewhat taken aback by what Jasmine said next. But living on a pension really seems like living in poverty, doesn't it? Money is really important. I have to work hard and earn. Living in poverty? I don't know what kind of lavish lifestyle the career woman Jasmine dreams of, but it's none of her business. I'm quite satisfied with my current life, which suits my means. Even the usually calm Louis had to gently chide her. "Hey Jasmine, don't say things like that." He gently chided her, but it was a worrying first encounter with Jasmine. The first Christmas after Louis and Jasmine got married, they came to visit my house. Maybe because of her busy job, as soon as Jasmine arrived. I'm so tired," and said that, then just sat on the sofa and didn't move. And even on Christmas, she seemed preoccupied with work calls, staring at her mobile phone and tablet, not moving an inch from the sofa. "Louis, I want some coffee. Louis, I'm a bit hungry. Bring me some snacks." From the sofa, Jasmine gave orders, and Louis dutifully brought her coffee and snacks. It's good that she's dedicated to her work, but as a mother, it pains me a bit to see my son so casually used by Jasmine. Moreover, during their stay at our house, Jasmine never once helped in the kitchen. It was always Lewis who helped with meal preparations and washing up. Quietly, I asked Lewis, who was helping me with the dishes, "Hey Lewis, doesn't Jasmine do any housework?" "Well, I'm mostly working from home as a freelancer, so I usually handle the housework. Jasmine has a commute and often comes home late. Plus, she travels a lot for work, so she's not home much. There's not much to do in terms of housework anyway." It's different from our time. Besides, Jasmine's been given more responsible work lately, so she's busy, you know? We're an independent couple after all. Jasmine likes to manage her own stuff, though. I mostly take care of the house. Huh. Well, if you're okay with it, I won't interfere. Jasmine can be a bit harsh in her way of speaking, but think of it as her fighting through the tough world of work. Please be a bit more understanding, Mom. He's such a mild-mannered eldest son. However, since then, it's only been Lewis who comes home for summer vacations and Christmas. Jasmine's too busy with work to come. That's what Lewis always says when he visits. Jasmine has a lot of business trips, works on weekends often. Recently, she's hardly at home. She must be really busy. Yeah. For me, having some reservations about Jasmine, it's admittedly easier when Lewis comes alone. Every time Lewis came back home, I noticed his face seemed a bit more worn, which concerned me a little. Then, as summer reached its peak, I received a call from Lewis. "Hello? This summer break, Jasmine and I will come to visit for the first time in a while." "Is that so? It's been a long time since both of you visited together." "Yeah. Looking forward to it, Mom." I felt relieved hearing Lewis's cheerful voice. And when the summer break came, Lewis and Jasmine returned home. This year's summer was reportedly the hottest on record. Our air conditioner at home was running non-stop, but due to its age, it wasn't cooling very well. "I'm home." "Hello there." As soon as Jasmine entered our house, she exclaimed, "It's so hot! Susan, is the air conditioner even working? Hey Lewis, lower the temperature." She went straight to the sofa, and as usual, began giving Lewis casual orders. "Ugh, it's still hot. Is this air conditioner broken? But I guess you can't afford a new one on a pension. Lewis, a hand fan, please." I had a bad feeling that Jasmine seemed even more overbearing than before. Also, compared to when I first met her makeup and clothing seemed flashier. "I'm going to say hello to Dad." Saying that, Lewis went to greet John's photograph. When I returned with the coffee for the two of them, I found Lewis in front of the photo. And next to Lewis, Jasmine was not there. Surprisingly, Jasmine was still confidently sitting on the sofa, legs crossed, fiddling with her mobile phone. She drank the cold coffee I made without even a word of thanks. I didn't want to nag Jasmine, but even I couldn't hold back this time. "Can't you put the phone away just for now?" Then Jasmine replied, I have important work responsibilities." "Well, Susan, living on a pension, you wouldn't understand." What does living on a pension have to do with this? I wanted to say something back to Jasmine, but she spoke up again. "The reason Susan can live on a pension is because of the money we work hard to earn. So as someone who works hard every day, I don't have to move in front of people living on pensions." Really? Such excuses. Is this what being weathered by the rough seas of society does to a person? I felt bad for Lewis, but I didn't want Jasmine to come over anymore. Knowing Jasmine wouldn't help in the kitchen, I had made a dinner reservation at a restaurant for their visit. That restaurant holds special memories, not just for me, but for our whole family. It's not the most elegant establishment, but the food is exquisite. When it was time, Lewis, Jasmine, and I headed to the restaurant. Upon arrival, we were guided to a private room that had been prepared for us. I'm going to say hello to Chef Brown. It's been a while since we've been to this restaurant." Before entering the private room, Lewis went to greet Chef Brown, leaving me alone with Jasmine. Just the two of us, me and Jasmine, in the private room. I felt uncomfortable and uneasy. Jasmine, as usual, was busy with her mobile phone. Just as I thought I should start a conversation, Jasmine spoke first. I came all this way to visit, and this is the place? Kind of disappointing. Oh, why? The food hasn't even been served yet. This restaurant is really delicious, And I tried to explain our family's connection to this restaurant, but Jasmine interrupted me, continuing her rant. I work in the city, and the places I usually go to for private dining or entertaining guests are those trendy ones featured in magazines. I doubt that there are any stylish places like that in the countryside. And this place, it's so impoverished. Well, I guess that's what you get when you're living on a pension, Susan. Jasmine, how can you say such things? Please don't speak ill of this restaurant. I don't mind her belittling me for living on a pension. Let her say what she wants. But Jasmine has casually used my dear son, and now our family's cherished restaurant. She dares to call it impoverished. How long will Lewis continue to be at Jasmine's beck and call? Various thoughts I had been holding back swirled in my heart. Today, I've had enough. It's time to stand up to Jasmine. As my anger reached its peak, I took a deep breath, ready to respond. When we get home, Jasmine. The voice wasn't mine. It was Lewis. After greeting Chef Brown, Lewis returned and stood at the entrance of the private room. His eyes had a coldness I, as his parent, had never seen before. I will absolutely not tolerate anyone speaking ill of this restaurant. His eyes said, Leave this to me. Jasmine, this restaurant, you see, was started by my dad and mom. Ugh, really? Jasmine must have never seen Lewis so angry before. She couldn't continue her usual haughty behavior. My father was a chef. He and my mom started this restaurant together and put their hearts into it. It's a precious place for us, filled with cherished memories, and you call it impoverished? Indeed. This restaurant was started by John and me, just as Lewis said. John was a skilled chef, and his cooking attracted locals who kept the restaurant always full. It wasn't a place with constant lines, but people from afar would come, having heard about it. And when the restaurant became busier, Chef Brown, who was now in charge of the kitchen, was John's right-hand man. Well, I didn't know that. You don't need to be so angry, Lewis. Jasmine retorted to Lewis, her face strained. Whether you knew it or not, there are things that are okay to say and things that are not. Lewis's anger hadn't subsided yet. Today's Lewis was different from usual. As I watched a bewildered Jasmine, I remembered the days when Lewis was still in elementary school. He used to stop by the restaurant after school and often helped us out. He washed dishes with his small hands and cut vegetables next to John. Come to think of it, even after marrying Jasmine, it was always Lewis who helped me out. This was my chance. I decided to fight back. Jasmine, I'm still the owner of this restaurant. I had planned to hand it over entirely to Chef Brown after John passed away. But Chef Brown, who was greatly indebted to John, insisted on looking after the restaurant until I turned 70. I still help out at the restaurant sometimes, and it provides enough income for me to live on my own. So I've arranged to start receiving my pension at 70. You keep belittling me for living on a pension. But guess what? I'm not even on a pension yet. Sorry to disappoint. Maybe I should add one more thing. Jasmine, I don't know what kind of lavish lifestyle you dream of with all your hard work, but I'm perfectly content with my life as it is, suited to my means. I thought you were living on a pension. So, as you can see, I'll start receiving my pension when I turn 70, and I still have money left by John that I haven't touched. I have no reason to be belittled by someone like you. Yes. I'm sorry. Great. I said it. The usually arrogant Jasmine in my home was now looking down, diminished. Perhaps she hadn't expected such a retort from the always gentle Lewis and me. Maybe John lent us his strength from beyond. Living within our means? Mom's right. Lewis murmured softly. Huh? I looked at Lewis, who was rummaging through his bag. He took out a bundle of envelopes and postcards and placed them in front of Jasmine. What is this? As Jasmine took the bundle and checked its contents, her face turned pale. No matter how hard you work outside, if you shop without restraint, you can't keep up with the payments, right? Wait, what? I didn't know these had arrived. I don't know anything about this. The figures, you're never home because of overtime and business trips. No time to check the mailbox, right? What was this exchange about? I looked at the bundle of mail Jasmine was holding. To my surprise, the bundle was a stack of dunning letters from credit card companies. And another thing, Lewis continued. About half of these reminders are for purchases at men's stores. I've never received anything like that from you, and I doubt you're wearing men's clothing. So what's all this about? No, that's not it. Lewis, don't say such awful things. Jasmine, explain this. I didn't need to hold back with Jasmine anymore. I pressed her with a firm voice. It was for a present. I bought it for someone I owe a lot to at work. I was in a hurry, so I paid for it. Looking at Jasmine, she was now red-faced and sweating profusely. Her heavy makeup seemed to be melting away, the foundation streaking. Her carefully applied makeup was rapidly deteriorating. For someone you owe a lot to. This person? Lewis took another envelope from his bag, slightly larger than the previous ones, and thrust it in front of Jasmine. What now? Jasmine hesitantly pulled out the contents of the envelope. Her face turned the bluest it had been all day. Wow, I never knew someone's face could change colors so drastically, from red to blue. My attention was drawn to an odd detail. The next moment, Jasmine raised her voice sharply. What is this? You investigated me? With all those dunning letters, I had to look into it. Lewis seemed resigned, yet composed. Inside the envelope were photos. There was Jasmine, walking arm in arm with a flashy young man, both smiling. Jasmine entering an apartment building, presumably the man's home, with him. And the most damning evidence was... well, let's leave it at that. Explain this, Jasmine! Lewis questioned Jasmine without changing his expression. What's wrong with taking a little break? I'm stressed from work. Lewis, you're older and too calm. You don't provide me with any excitement. To me, you're a house husband. House husband! I wouldn't have married an older guy like you otherwise. I need some excitement outside, or I can't stand it. Jasmine, now red-faced, blurted out. Stop it right now! Finally, my anger exploded. Jasmine, listen to me. How dare you let Lewis handle everything at home, treating him like a housewife even though you're not supporting him. You said it when we first met, that you wanted to be a self-reliant and free couple. How is overspending to the point you can't pay for it being self-reliant? And thinking that infidelity is okay just because you're free? I don't want to see your face anymore. Get out of this restaurant right now. Susan, you don't need to get so angry. Quiet! Just get out! Lewis delivered the final blow. Eh. Apparently startled by what must have seemed like the first and last time Lewis and I showed such fury, Jasmine fled the restaurant. Is everything settled? The one who appeared was Chef Brown. Chef Brown, I'm sorry for causing a scene. It seems that Lewis had resolved to confront Jasmine before coming to the restaurant. He had gone to greet Chef Brown earlier to explain the situation. It's okay, Lewis. Susan, the food is ready, so I'll bring it over. Just the family now. Please take your time. Thank you. We appreciate it, Chef Brown. Lewis and I regained our composure and enjoyed the restaurant's food for the first time in a while. Eating brought back memories of John. Chef Brown had faithfully continued John's flavors. Afterwards, Lewis stayed at my house for a while, proceeding with divorce proceedings from Jasmine. With indisputable evidence, he left everything to a lawyer. Then, after finding a new home, Lewis moved his belongings out while Jasmine was at work. According to what Lewis heard from acquaintances, Jasmine continued to spend lavishly on men, even after the divorce. Her mailbox was always full, her card payments lapsed, and eventually her workplace started receiving calls about it. This led to her workplace finding out about the affair and divorce, and she faced daily criticism at her job. She must be feeling very uncomfortable. But besides her credit card arrears, Jasmine also has to pay the damages she owes to Lewis. Despite the discomfort, she can't afford to quit her job. The money she worked so hard for is quickly disappearing. Jasmine, now short on funds, was swiftly abandoned by her boyfriend. All that remained were debts and a broken pride. With Jasmine gone, Lewis brought back peace to my life. And now, Teresa, Lewis's sister, was returning home temporarily from her overseas assignment. The very same Teresa for whom work was always first. Lewis planned to return home to coincide with her visit. "I'm home. It's been a while, my dear home." Teresa arrived back home. "I'm so tired from the long journey." Saying so, Teresa sat down on the sofa. Lewis and I, reminded of a recent event, looked at Teresa in surprise. "What's up with you, Mom and Big Brother?" "Oh right, I need to greet Dad first." Watching Teresa head towards John's photo, I felt relieved. That evening, for the first time in a while, Lewis, Teresa, and I gathered around the dinner table and had a wonderful time. After the meal, despite being tired, Teresa took the initiative to help with cleaning up. "You seem to be doing well." Watching Teresa wash the dishes next to me, I accidentally voiced my inner thoughts aloud. With a puzzled look, Teresa turned to me as if to say, "What are you talking about?" When I looked back, Lewis also had a slightly embarrassed smile on his face. I may never get to see my grandchildren, but everyone has their own way of life, whether it's building a family or living alone. I'm so fortunate to have such kind children and feel truly happy. Surely, John in heaven is also at peace. Until the day I join John, I vow to continue living a life that suits me and to enjoy my solitude. That was the promise I made to myself.